With the way things ended in episode 4 of Ahsoka, you knew that episode 5 was going to be heavy on Anakin Skywalker. And really, that's what a lot of people predicted, including myself, when we realized that Dave Filoni was directing episode 5. That would be the one where we saw the flashbacks or the dream sequences or whatever way it was supposed to be, that Hayden Christensen would be involved in this series. And that is absolutely what happened in episode 5. A lot of people, when you woke up this morning, were probably talking about Hayden's return as Anakin. Of course, this is his second return as Anakin in the past year. He made the appearance in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, a flashback sequence, and of course, multiple times as Darth Vader. But how would it play out in Ahsoka, and what would they do? Well, these questions people had at the end of episode 4. Is that the real Anakin? Are they actually in the world between worlds? All of these things. And I laid out a video where I said I didn't think that was true. I thought it might be a dark side manifestation of somebody pretending to be Anakin, or more likely, it was Ahsoka going through a near-death experience. Well, we'll soon get into exactly how ambiguous they tried to leave it. But overall, this episode is kind of what I expected, to be full of nostalgia, to be full of sequences that some of them we've seen in animation that were converted to live action. And I think with a lot of other things in this series, if you're a massive fan of Clone Wars and Rebels, this is kind of made for you. You're the core audience for this, because they knew that people would go crazy for sequences like that. And as a general Star Wars fan, I think there's going to be a lot of people that just see Hayden back, see Hayden Christensen in these parts, and think it's so fucking cool and badass. Overall, I don't know how much Anakin's appearance really contributed to the storyline and Ahsoka's journey. We're going to get into all of that, but for right now, all I can say is this episode is exactly what I thought it would be in terms of massive nostalgia and member berries, and a lot of people very hyped from what they saw. However, I don't think it's enough to detract from the struggles with writing and plot and character that this show specifically still has. But let's get into it from the very beginning. We've got a ripped video right here, so we can go through it. It starts off right where we left off, basically. They show sequences of Seatos, and obviously what was left there when Sabine and Balon and Morgan and everybody took the hyperspace jump to a different galaxy to go find Thrawn. Hera comes by with the ghost to that place where they were at and finds nobody, only the broken map. And we get a little view of Chopper and Jason. She's conversing with the X-Wing pilots, and they basically say, hey, we don't see anything. We've done a lot of sweeps. Like, there's really nothing out here, at least that we can find. We're not supposed to be on this mission. We probably have to start getting back soon. And Hera does find Hu Yang, who's standing there and realizing that something bad has happened. He's got Sabine's helmet, says, I told them to stay together. Why don't they ever listen to me? Type of thing. But Jason feels like there's something out there. He knows there's something out there somewhere. He is force sensitive. He gets that feeling. Now we get to the part that everybody was waiting for after the end of episode 4. In this world between worlds, which may or may not be the world between worlds, Anakin and Ahsoka. And he's basically, you're here because you lost a fight. I'm here to teach you one last lesson. Fight or die. And she says, I will not fight you. I will not fight you. Anakin kind of forces the action right here and ignites his lightsaber and goes after her, forces her to defend herself. And there is some cool sequences. I will admit, Hayden with a lightsaber, there is just nobody else that really looks the way he does with it. Now, how much was stunt work? How much was him? Who knows? We saw the work he did that he put into the prequels and how proficient he was and how good he looked with the lightsaber in his hands. He makes Rosario Dawson, honestly, he puts her to shame. He puts Rosario Dawson to shame in terms of his lightsaber skills throughout this entire thing. But he's trying to say, you need to fight or die. They start fighting. Now, back on Seatos, Jason feels something out there, and he's trying to get Hera's attention. The X-Wing pilot, again, this guy that we've seen, he's just everywhere in the galaxy. He says, no, we really got to get going. There's nothing out there. We've done scan after scan. We got to get back to the fleet, or we're going to get in trouble. And Chopper and Jason are trying to get Hera's attention. Jason says, you can hear it out there, Mom. I can hear it. Something's out there. Don't you hear the waves, the lightsabers? And gets Hera to focus hard enough that she can also hear lightsabers somehow. Now, I don't, listen, this is supposed to be ambiguous, whether it's all going on in Ahsoka's head or it is in the world between worlds. for Jason to be able to sense what's going on. You could argue either way. How the fuck would Hera be able to hear it just by listening hard enough? Is this more of this bullshit? You try hard enough, you can access the Force just immediately like this? I don't know. Seems kind of stupid. I don't feel like Hera needed to hear it. She could have just taken Jason's word at it. But instead, they have her listen and focus and start to hear lightsaber clashes that are going on. And now we get to this point. I'll let you guys see a little bit of this. Everybody loved seeing Anakin do the twirl, do his lightsaber twirl. And eventually he backs her up and backs her up. And what does she do? Let's watch. Ahsoka bitch slaps Anakin and says,
"Looks like you don't have much left to offer."
Looks like you don't have much left to offer. She also would beat him later in this episode, by the way. But then Anakin essentially cuts the world between. She starts falling. And when she's down at the bottom, she is now young Ahsoka. She's now young Ahsoka Tano and is transported back into a memory that she had of one of the first missions with Anakin on Ryloth during the Clone Wars.
Come on. Forward!
And now we see young Anakin, Hayden Christensen as Anakin during the Clone Wars. And I want to get to a part. Let's see if I can find a good shot for you guys. And I think Hayden looks really fucking good in this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think he looks good. I think he feels good. I think Hayden did a really good job with his role in this. The question is, what purpose does it actually serve? And we will get to that. But they go through, he's like, hey, if you don't fight, you're going to die. If you don't fight, you're going to die, right? That's the entire thing. Fight or die. Choose to fight or choose to die. You see all of the clones, Ahsoka feeling bad about it, and asking the question, is this all a Jedi is supposed to do? Again, reliving these same lessons that Anakin has already given to her at one point in time. There's a really good shot of Hayden as Clone Wars era Anakin in his Clone Wars outfit. And this is what this episode is all about. It's all about recreating things in live action that people have seen in animation. And if you're a massive fan of that, there's a good chance that this made you go crazy getting to see this in live action for the first time. Other scenes were recreated as well, which we will get into. And he goes on to tell Ahsoka how, when Obi-Wan trained me, we were keepers of the peace. Now I have to train you to be a warrior because we're in the Clone Wars. That's not all you are, but it has to be a part of what you are. And you either choose to fight or you will die. And then when the battle starts back up again, I got to show you this clip. A lot of people are talking about this. And credit, I will give credit full in it. This is great cinematography. It really is. Let's watch this. So as Ahsoka's watching Anakin go into the smoke, you see this. Right, the transition to Vader and the transition back. And really this entire thing is Ahsoka, it's Ahsoka's fear that either she's going to turn into Anakin or her fear of Anakin or unresolved issues with Anakin. That's what this entire thing is. This entire sequence is in Ahsoka's head. I think it's supposed to feel like the Luke Skywalker Dagobah cave, right? Fighting, this version of Vader that ends up being himself. She's afraid that she's going to turn into Vader with everything she's seen. Back on Seatos, they're doing a low altitude, right, check once again for Ahsoka. They still find nothing, but then Chopper picks up a signal and gives them the location, tells Hera to get really low to do checking because they see something out there, which again tells me that Ahsoka's just drifting out there. She's not in the world between worlds. She's out there in the water. Now we go back and we've skipped forward from beginning of Clone Wars to the very end. The Siege of Mandalore, which you saw in Clone Wars Season 7. And I gotta admit, this girl, who is the same person we saw young Gamora from Infinity War, I don't know if she's doing the action in this, she puts Rosario Dawson to shame with some of these moves that she pulls. Just being real, like she fights way more Ahsoka-ish than Rosario does. Rosario just seems slow, even in the battle we'll look at later. But this is from Siege of Mandalore. And then you see Anakin comes up after they're cleaning up. Anakin comes up behind, and you get the recreation of this scene.
Siege of Mandalore. We had parted ways by now.
Looks intense.
It was.
And of course, people loved the fact that it reminded them of this scene from Clone Wars Season 7, really the last time that Ahsoka saw Anakin. Star Wars at this point in time is self-referential, right? People get excited when they see things that they saw from Star Wars in Star Wars. That seems to be what some people consider peak Star Wars now, is when they just do things that they did before. But no doubt they wanted to give people this part, this thing in live action. And Ahsoka at this point in time says, you know, you are more than just a warrior, Anakin, right? Or he says, all of that I am will be in you. And she says, but you're more than just a warrior, Anakin. You're more powerful. You're more dangerous than anyone could have possibly thought. Anakin says, is this what you're upset about? And then we get this.
Choice. Live. Or die.
And now we get to see what is supposed to be, this would be like Anakin if he never got his limbs chopped off, right? This is Vader. He's got the red lightsaber. He's ready to go. And he's able to handle young Ahsoka, basically kicks her back through the smoke, and they're up at the world between worlds again. And once again, credit to the cinematography. We get a really cool scene right here. You hear Vader breathing. Again, regardless of the quality of the episode, the quality of the writing, the quality of the character and all this stuff, those are very cool. Those are cool sequences, obviously, the flashing between Vader and Anakin. And then you see Anakin. He's going to just beat the shit out of Ahsoka, right? That has to be what happens here, right?
Please die.
She has no lightsaber now. No lightsaber. What's going to happen? Once again, Ahsoka in her head gets to beat the Chosen One, gets to beat Anakin Skywalker with some very, slow moves from Anakin for some reason. Again, some of the choreography from Hayden looks fucking amazing in this. And then other times, it's stupid stuff like this. I'll watch it one more time.
Die.
But Ahsoka then says, I choose to live. She does not kill him. She throws his lightsaber away. This is her overcoming her fear that she might become Anakin at some point in time, right? That's the message that we're supposed to get. Anakin transforms back from his dark side self.
There's hope for you yet.
And then once she's overcome what her mind needed her to overcome, the world between worlds starts to fall away, and it starts filling up with water, which is as she realizes that she's actually floating. She's down there floating. This was never actually in the world between worlds. This was her having a near-death experience, and that's what her mind needed to overcome to make the choice to continue to live, but not with fear that she'll turn into Anakin this time. That's kind of the route they're going. And she does get rescued by the X-Wing pilots, and she gets brought in there. She says Anakin right before she passes out. And then we have Ahsoka recovering, her waking up after this. A conversation with Hu Yang about how long they've been gone. And hey, we don't know, because she still didn't know what happened to Sabine, right? Everyone's just gone, and Ahsoka realized Sabine is gone with everyone else, and the map got destroyed. So now they have to figure out where's Sabine. Once again, we interrupt your where to find this person, a map to this person for your dream sequence about Anakin Skywalker. And now we're on to having to find somebody once again. And she realizes that Jason heard the lightsabers somehow, and she really doesn't understand what that means. I don't either. Clearly, this was in Ahsoka's head, not actually in the world between worlds. Could Jason just have been feeling that vision from Ahsoka? Is he that force sensitive that he could feel something like that? Who knows? It's supposed to be ambiguous, but this was obviously in Ahsoka's mind. And she uses psychometry. Again, something that Ahsoka never displayed any talent for, something that cannot be learned, is just something that's inherently a trait that it's very rare for Jedi to have. She never had it before. She does have it in this. But maybe the most important part of this is now Ahsoka's going to dress in white, guys. She's Gandalf. She was dressed in gray. But now that she's been through this, she's been reborn, and now she's Gandalf the White. And Hera is still facing a lot of pressure because she's not supposed to be here. There's an unauthorized mission. She's going to get in trouble for it. Ahsoka feels what happened, realized that Sabine gave up the location, gave up the map, and ended up going with them to wherever they're at. Yes, she was when she left Seatos. And then we find out that the fleet that would not send anybody to this location when they thought all these threats were out there, they decided to send 3 ships just to retrieve Hera and 3 X-Wing pilots. So Mon Mothma says, oh, you have to come back and face this. You have to come back and explain yourself. Otherwise, you might be permanently suspended. Well, now Ahsoka has an idea of how to find Sabine, and it involves the Purgles. So if you don't know, the Purgles are these space whales that can enter hyperspace, and it's kind of how the maps were officially made for hyperspace in the beginning. If you did not watch Rebels, you probably have no connection to the Purgles or any idea about them, and it might look a little ridiculous to you and feel weird that there's massive epic music, but if you watch Rebels, you probably know what this is all about. Ahsoka's plan is to communicate with the Purgles to have them take her to go to this galaxy to try to find Ezra, Sabine, and Thrawn. And she needs time to do that. They kind of delay, the X-Wing pilots delay the fleet a little bit. Again, sending these 3 big ships out there for these couple people would not do it to investigate an Imperial threat. Really makes no fucking sense, to be honest with you. But he explains the plan that they're going to go find the Purgles, and they're going to use that to try to go to this galaxy. That's what happens. Ahsoka convinces this Purgle to open its mouth. They go in there. Ahsoka and Hu Yang are about to go to another galaxy, while Hera goes back to explain herself to the Senate committee. They have a scene of them jumping into hyperspace, and that's pretty much it. Ahsoka once again in the white, and that's how the episode ends, is them going into hyperspace in a space whale in a Purgle. Obviously, the thing that everybody cares about for this episode is the Anakin stuff. Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin Skywalker. This is what I'll say. I think for him to come back and teach Ahsoka a lesson, I feel like it should probably be a little bit more deep than fight or die, live or die. I think that's something that he taught her a long time ago. I don't think it's something she needs to figure out. What they're trying, I think, to get you to feel is Ahsoka basically getting over her fear of potentially turning into that and realizing that Anakin had so much fear in him. That's why these things happen, and just letting herself live, not being dead inside anymore. And now she's going to be reborn as Ahsoka the White. Maybe feel a little bit more like the Ahsoka we knew from the animated version instead of the one that's just so grumpy and flat and stoic all the time. I loved seeing Hayden as Anakin. I really did, because I love Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. I love the fact that he got to do this. This is probably an awesome thing for him. Overall, the entire thing is just used to try to get you to care about Ahsoka. Ahsoka was never meant to be this important of a character. Dave Filoni's trying to turn her into the center of the Star Wars universe, the most important character ever. The fact that she, in her mind, while she was fighting Anakin, beat not only his light side version, but his dark side version. And also just to show that Ahsoka's going to be able to do what he never was able to do. And to me, there's part of that's a little cringe. That's what he gets brought back for, to lose to her. And for that to be kind of the message, I'm sure a lot of people will clap for that, though. It's cool to see him, nostalgia, member berries, all these things. But ultimately, what purpose did it really serve other than teach her a lesson that really should have already happened and did happen a long time ago? We're just getting to see it in live action once again so that people clap. Some awesome moments, some cool moments to watch, some moments that made my heart feel good to see Hayden like that. Ultimately, I don't think it's something that is able to overcome the weak plot and character and writing and dialogue that has been present throughout this entire show, and even in this episode after Anakin wasn't there. So the idea of her being reborn as the White, we saw it at the end of Rebels. They retconned that already. Now this is her moment to be reborn as Ahsoka the White. Dave Filoni has this fetish with comparing Gandalf to Ahsoka. It's always what he wanted. This was in 2019, just a few days after The Rise of Skywalker came out. Gandalf saying, people thought I was dead too. Just look how that turned out, to Ahsoka. That is nothing new. I think a lot of people are going to love this episode. I think a lot of fans of the animation are going to love this episode, love seeing Hayden. The last 2 episodes have certainly been the best part of this show. The first 3 episodes, in my mind, were complete and total dog shit. But this episode is what I always expected it to be, and I predicted it to be. I even made a video on this channel just put it out a few days ago, that this is not really Anakin. He's not really there. It's just going to be something in Ahsoka's mind. She's going through a near-death experience. It's exactly what it was. But nevertheless, we still got to see her beat Anakin a couple times. So, hey, I guess there's that. What do you guys think about it? Let me know. I think that overall, it's going to be very positive sentiment coming out of this from the core audience that this is really made for. The animated fans, the Rebels and Clone Wars fans. I think they're hyped that they've been waiting a long time to see this. How will the general Star Wars fandom feel about it? We'll see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.